Hey there, everyone. I'm Samuel Johnson, and welcome back to the Phantom Perspectives. And today we're going to be discussing episode 46 of Danny Phantom, Boxed Up Fury. And this episode's a Box Ghost centered episode, strangely enough. This one kind of deals with him and his insecurities, so to speak. Cause in this case, the Box Ghost is kind of fed up because no one takes him seriously, and for good reason. He's the Box Ghost. Because we get all one of the things they show is that there are all these reward posters up for all these other more powerful ghosts, and they're like something like $1,000, 2,000, 3,000, or whatever, and for him it's just like $250, and I don't mean like 250, it's like $2.50, $2.50, whatever, you know what I mean. So to raise up his bounty, he tries to unleash all these various cursed boxes on people, but it doesn't really do anything, as each of them is either a nuisance at best or just really provides a free service. Like one is a lunchbox of doom, which sends out several sandwiches, while the other is a shoebox of terror that unleashes all these shoes that, while they do pinch a little, are very fashionable. As such, he decides that if none of these boxes will work, he'll instead go for the A game, and so he decides to steal a new box, specifically Pandora's box, and he kind of steals it very easily as he goes into Pandora's area of the ghost zone and then just takes it. Which, yeah, it's kind of weird, especially since it's supposed to be like one of these legendary boxes, and you can just fly right in and take it. But Pandora's box ain't anything to scoff at, as upon leaving Pandora's realm, he's confronted by Skulker, who realizes that he took Pandora's box, but to show off its terror, he opens it up, and a unicorn ends up popping out, and then mutates into a monster that begins attacking Skulker. And on top of that, the Box Ghost's complexion suddenly changes just like to dark, from his blue to dark red, and suddenly he kind of gets a bit darker, not to the point where he's not funny anymore. Like throughout this episode, even when he's actually doing threatening things, he still keeps up his regular old tone of screaming inanely, even though it's not necessary. And that's just, yeah, it's like kind of like that. Even but bottom line, the box actually is a legitimate threat. So he then goes to the human world and just starts unleashing it on everything. Unleashing all these snakes, bats, these terror frogs, and even more legitimate threats like a Pegasus that can breathe fire, a multi-headed Hydra, and pretty much while tries fighting off everything from the box, unfortunately, it's too much for him. He can only do so much, and it's just and the box goes and it's just keep and the boxer just keeps unleashing more stuff, and the more he opens the box, the worse things just come out. So Danny realizes that if they want to stop, so they real so Dan, Sam or actually no Sam tells Danny that if they wish to stop the box, or actually scratch that, Danny does figure this out for himself, but because Sam's the one that tells them that Boxos has Pandora's box because she knows about the legend. Bottom line, they realize that if they want to stop the Box Ghost, they need to get Pandora, since this is her box. As such, Sam gives Danny a book about gothic myths and so forth, because apparently all goths have this kind of book. And so he goes to the ghost zone, he goes through a bunch of trials with all these other Greek myths, like he goes against Medusa, or a Minotaur, and a Centaur, and eventually manages to reach Pandora's palace, even though the Box Ghost just flew right in without having to go through any trials. But he goes in, and Pandora answers, and he tells her that he knows the boxes, and so they both go back to the human world. But unfortunately, even Pandora doesn't seem to be enough to fight the Box Ghost, because he's used her box enough so that it's pretty much making it that he's pretty much bonded with it, I suppose you could say, because it's giving him more powers and abilities, and anything that Pandora and Danny throw at him, like blasts or whatever, he can just suck into the box and then throw right back at them. As such, they both end up working together, and they manage to distract the boxes long enough for Pandora to sneak in a surprise attack and knock him aside and and get her box away from him. As such, Pandora reveals that the box actually wasn't meant to be a tool used for evil, and that she was actually a good guy, and that the box was originally just supposed to contain all the evil in the world, not unleash it. Which is what. So, as such, she manages to suck everything back into the box, because apparently there was a switch on the bottom of the box that allows everyone that you can either unleash or suck everything back, which I kind of find to be stupid and funny. But she uses it to suck in all the horror that the Box Ghost unleashed, and she tells him that he's going to end up having to pay for all he's done, And so the episode ends with him cutting her hedges and everything he's done, managed to raise his bounty up from $250 to $50, which is supposed to be good. Is nice, but yeah. So honestly, I think this is a pretty good episode. Like, I kind of find it so far to be the best of the season so far. Like, because for starters, the Box Ghost was always kind of written as a joke character, and even in this episode, and the fact that they were able to write an episode around that, and him kind of realizing that no one's gonna take him seriously, I kind of find to be interesting. And admittedly, he is tuned up to a threat. Not to the don't get me wrong, it's still him, and it is and I suppose you could say a detriment to the episode is that it's hard to take him seriously throughout all this, but the episode in itself is actually competently done. The pacing, for the most part, is really nice and escalates to everything rather well. The Box Ghost actually being able to become a threat by getting this box, which does still tie into him because Box Ghost. But with it, he's actually able to become a legitimate threat as he keeps unleashing all these horrors on Amity Park that just keep progressively getting worse and worse. And it's really nice. And to get to the point where, it's still kind of hard to take him seriously with his constant yelling and moaning, but it's still, but it does kind of become a bit threatening as his voice starts getting a little lower, as more he uses the box. He does get a little bit threatening, but not to the point where I'm actually afraid of him, but to the point where I can easily say that at least for this episode, he's somewhat of a competent villain. Just enough so that he briefly breaks out of the joke character. Of his area as a joke character. He goes right back into it by the end of the episode, but I do kind of like that they do, but enough so that you can at least somewhat take him seriously as a villain. Not to the point where you'll stop laughing at him, but enough so that you actually realize that for at least this episode, he's a force to be reckoned with. So I'm actually okay with that. I kind of like seeing all the horrors that were being unleashed in the box, and the box was getting stronger the more he wielded it. And admittedly, I also kind of like seeing Danny go through the trials a bit, though it does again, plot hole is that why did Danny have to go through all this when the box was just strolled right in? And on top of that, apparently the legends of the Pandora's box are a thing, and yet no one's tried stealing them. I suppose maybe the idea is that that people are afraid of Pandora, and fair enough, but at the very least, the Box Ghost you can easily say the Box Ghost is too dumb to even heed those warnings, or at the very least was desperate. But I don't know. I think the problems of the episode are honestly minor in comparison. Because you do actually still get some laughs at the Box Ghost's expense when he's trying to be competent and failing. You see him actually see him succeed in this area, actually being a competent villain. It actually is nice and fun, and there is still some good moments in the episode. Like, going back to Skulker, he's actually still being chased by the Pegasus, so that somehow multiplied, and Danny goes in to save them, and they both just have a moment where they both agree that they're never going to speak about this again, but it's actually really nice. It's just and it actually is legitimately funny. I suppose another flaw I can think of it is also Pandora, because, I don't know, I understand that she would want her box back, and she probably wouldn't unleash it, but she's supposed to be, but yet this box, and yet there's still, and she says that she created to hold all the evil of both the human and ghost worlds, but I don't know, I still think that maybe, she still had all these trials and so forth just to get through her realm, and all these things that were supposed to harm people. I suppose it could be, I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be to keep people out, but I think that'd be kind of hard to invite friends over and you say, okay, get my doorbell, you gotta go through all these trials, and again, the Box Ghost just strolled right by them. I don't know, maybe Danny just decided to do, maybe Danny could have easily strolled right by them and just didn't know he could. I don't know. And even then, still, Last Minute Twist is a little odd, though I do find it hilarious that there's a switch on the bottom of her box that you can either unleash everything or suck it back in. That's just stupid and fun. I love it. But honestly, again, I don't think there's a lot wrong with this episode. Again, there is kind of that little minor plot hole, And I suppose you could easily still say the box. You probably can't take the box ghost. That still can't take the box ghost seriously because again, he's still the box ghost and he still keeps up his tone. But I do think the episode was able to at least make him a somewhat competent villain. Being able to give him this box that gives him all that makes him more powerful, more evil. The more he uses it, unleashing all these horrors. It's actually kind of nice and actually a little It's actually kind of cool. And I do like, and the episode does kind of work, and it is nice that the episode still acknowledges that he's a goof, and that the fact that the only reason he wasn't a goof is because of this box, but is enough so that you still think that it still works, and I like that. I like that about this episode. It's just I don't know. I don't know how. It's just that I can really find it a lot to talk about. It has some good laughs because of about poking fun of the box ghost early on. It has some nice tension, seeing the box ghost unleashing more of these horrors and people starting to get a bit more overwhelmed as he continues on with his rampage. It's cool seeing everything come to a head at the end of the episode. Again, I guess the problems would be kind of maybe the Medusa stuff with Pandora, where the box was able to get through and Danny had to go through all these trials. Though again, maybe you could say that was Danny's fault. How this powerful weapon wasn't that much guarded for the box ghost. Though again, it wasn't really it wasn't that well guarded. Again, maybe he skipped it all. And even maybe the last minute twist with Pandora apparently really being a good guy. I don't know. I feel like she'd be like I feel like that with the way what they're setting up, she could have been chaotic and neutral. But sorry, my dog's barking. But I don't know. Again, I feel like she could. But again, the flaws I can think of this episode are minor at best. So honestly, yeah, I think so far this is kind of the best episode of the season. Like again, we had a couple of good episodes with Urban Jungle and Girls Night Out, but this episode I think it was more than just good or decent. This one was actually pretty good, ranging between was actually pretty good and very entertaining. So yeah, on the whole, pretty good episode. All I have to say there. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'll see you next week. Take care.